Our first contestant is Kyle Murtagh with a speech entitled, "What do short shorts, Vaseline and pain all have in common?" What do short shorts, Vaseline and pain all have in common? Kyle Murtagh.
Short shorts, Vaseline, and pain? Yeah, I'm glad I can't see what you are thinking. Contest chair, ladies and gents, I was referring to running. And personally, I've always avoided distance running. But around a year ago, things were different. You see, I just failed to achieve one of my major goals. The business which I started was not going well. And I just felt like in every area of my life, I was underachieving. And if you've ever felt like that, you'll know it's extremely important to get out of that rut. And I thought the best way of doing that would be to run a marathon. So 3 months later, I found myself at the start line of the Loch Ness Marathon, wearing short shorts in October and regretting the decision I just made. I had 26.2 miles laid out in front of me, but that was not what intimidated me the most. Rather, it was the man standing directly beside me. You see, he was putting something all over his body, and I just could not work out what it was. So what I did was I stared at the guy, and eventually, of course, he stared back. And then he leaned in and he said something to me which I'm not going to forget. "Big man, have you Vaselined your nipples?" "No, have you?" "I've Vaselined everywhere, pal." Bang! Thankfully, at this point, the race gun went off and Vaseline Man crusaded off, slipping and sliding past all the other runners. Despite his explosive start, Vaseline Man was not out of sight yet. That was because the first few miles were all downhill. And you will have experienced this yourself. When you're doing well with your endeavors in life and you've got momentum, you just feel great. And that feeling continued for me until I reached mile 13. At this point, I had two key problems. Number one, my legs were in agony. I was literally forced to slow down. And the frustrating thing was, all the other runners around me were somehow able to speed up. I was being left behind. But second, and more significantly, I realized that I had more than half of this race still to go. I wasn't even close to the finish line. And in life, these two problems occur as well. We look at our long-term goals, we see where we're currently at, and we become disheartened. Then we look around us and we see friends, colleagues, people online doing brilliant, having so much success, but we're just not. And then we feel the visceral pain of that moment. And the last thing you want to do is take another step. But that step is the only thing you truly can control. You can't control what other people do or how long it will take, but you do decide if you keep moving forward. And for the next 7 tormenting miles, that was what I had to focus on. Literally just getting one foot in front of the other at my own pace. And once I reached mile 20, I actually started to feel a bit better. You know how people talk about getting a second wind? Well, mine had arrived and I was flying down the course. I was yelling to myself, "Vaseline Man, I'm coming, buddy." I had this momentum, energy, it was all going well, and then my right leg. The muscles started spasming and contorting and then completely locked out straight. I tried to move, but I just could not bend this leg. With 6 miles left to go, I could not run. Have you ever had a goal, but then something happens, gets in your way, which makes you question it? Often in our pursuit, the unforeseeable, it just manifests right before your eyes, doesn't it? And we can't control these unpredictable events. But that event can only last so long. Then you do decide what happens next, whether you go home and call it a day or take that next step in the right direction. And after 15 minutes of sitting on the side, watching all the other runners pass me by, I finally summoned the courage to take that agonizing next step. And the 5 miles which followed were just horrifically challenging. Literally every step was a victory at that point. But with just 1 mile left to go, I saw something shimmering in the distance. What was it? A bird? A plane? No. It was Vaseline Man. Despite his prep, I could tell he was suffering. I caught up to him. We started this race together. We were going to finish it together. And when we crossed that finish line, we actually gave each other a big hug. Now, apart from feeling his slippery chest against mine, I have never felt a greater sense of absolute bliss than when I reached 26.2 miles. You see, I realized that I was feeling down beforehand because I focused all of my attention on what I could not control. And right now, there is a lot which we all cannot control. We're locked inside, our health is under threat, and the future is just full of uncertainty. But if this race taught me one thing, it's that the only thing you truly can control is that next step. You decide if you keep moving forward, and in this current climate, you can decide to focus on that. Now, your next step might not involve shorts, Vaseline, or pain, but what matters is that you take it. Contest chair.